Good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Health Subcommittee of the California Paraprofessional Program Working Group. I'd like to go ahead and take roll. McRae?
Here.
Robinson?
Here.
And Shining? Don't see Carolyn quite yet, but maybe she will join us. You can see if there are any members of the public that want to make a comment. If there's anybody attending who wants to make public comment, please raise your hand using that function in the Zoom. Don't see any raised hands. So, Dana, should I go ahead and get started with the?
Yes, I think we should.
Okay. So I sent out the memo that went to the full working group in June. Who's that joined?
There's Carolyn.
Okay, great. Carolyn, I will add you to the present members of the roll call. Just to review, from the Justice Gap study, these were the health-related needs that were identified. And we reviewed them, and the recommendation from this subcommittee, which at the time was Carolyn and Dana, and we're happy to have you joining us now, Nicole. The resolution that was adopted, that this was the recommendation, the resolution was adopted by the working group to include all of the issues identified by the Justice Gap study in this practice area. And really what's left to do, I think, is to flesh out the specifics of what the tasks that are included in each of these topics. And I'm sort of following the mode that Leah has used to ask what, to determine what information we need, or whether what we need to do is just identify the subject matter experts that can help us flesh out what's involved in each of these topics. And I think we did hear from them, from a lot of them, during our initial meetings. So it might be that we can just go back to them and flesh them out. I don't know if anyone has any other suggestions or ideas about what we need to do and how to proceed.
I'm wondering if people feel like we need subject matter experts for all four of these topics. Because some of them, for example, denial of service, seem like we should be able to come up with the task list ourselves. Are there tasks beyond filing a complaint, internal administrative complaint, requesting an independent medical review, requesting a copy of the patient records, and adding notes to the patient record?
I'm just trying to pull up who we did. Okay, so we heard someone from a community health center. We heard people from legal aid, neighborhood legal services they were talking about the medical legal partnerships.
Yes.
And then we talked to, county counsel's office from, that was from Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm. Siobhan Kelly.
Yeah. So, and they explained that the medical legal partnership is not, I'm looking at the memo. So, we talked to Jack Daly, coordinator of the Health Consumer Center. I still think there's still there, and to Greg's point, and Greg, there are plethora of laws that this will impact in terms of what people can and cannot do. A lot of this is administrative hearing. I'm curious to see what New York is doing with the licensed social, I've said this at a couple meetings, the licensed social care worker who has had some added abilities to touch on legal areas. And this may be a place where, again, I think I'd be really, really interested to see what they're talking about. That's something that I've thought from the get-go was a really powerful idea, because again, you're a social care worker and you're working with someone trying to fill out forms in a hospital. And where do you say this is legal advice? This is not legal advice. Social hospitals have, rooms or a room with licensed social care workers in them trying to figure these things out. So I still think that's another thing to see what areas they're talking about. But some of these areas are really legal things, legal specific laws that can't be addressed in court because they're blank. You can't sue HMOs for certain things. They've got immunity. Some of this may be medical malpractice, but barred, you can't do it. So I still think we've got significant barriers, but the people who would know it would be hospitals and institutions.
So Dana, I'm curious, when you're talking about like coming up with a list, of the tasks that will be done, it sounded like that would be mostly in the realm of the denial of access to services. Would that also be, for billing problems? Is that, or do you think we would need someone, or does anybody, or maybe Carolyn, you have some insights, if we would need assistance with building out what's involved in dealing with billing issues?
Well, one of the problems I get calls on all the time is someone who says, Kaiser billed me twice. Or my insurance paid for this, and then they came out and they said, no, maybe not Kaiser, but somebody said, a Blue Cross said, they paid for this, but then they billed me again. So I got a bill, but insurance already covered it. And it's $2,000. It's an additional radiology fee or something. And that is something that it's individualized. It's not a class action. And what do you do with that? And so, maybe it's 15, I don't know. I think that's a situation where there are lots of people who can't go to Blue Cross and say, why did I have this $2,000 bill? And would need help kind of walking through the system. How do you write a letter to Blue Cross that says, I'm not going to pay this $2,000 because you already paid it. It's called balance billing, I think. And it's a bit, I think a lot of what people are complaining about, and my guess is in the Justice Gap study, when you get a bill that something was already paid for, or nothing happened, or it was outside the coverage, you didn't know it was outside your network. You didn't know, it's a one person thing. So
Right.
I wish there was more detail in the Justice Gap studies about what these areas meant.
Right. And I the thing that occurs to me with this specific area is what I keep hearing about in the news is people who they get brought into the hospital and they get services. They basically are in a situation where they can't say yes or no, they don't know. And so the services are provided. And then it turns out that the anesthesiologist or whoever is out of network. So they get hit with a bill for something that they didn't have weren't given a choice. Do you want this? Do you not want it? And so I think those are the issues that we're hearing about a lot.
Well, there was a bill, and I think it's come up a couple of times in the legislature to make people put on notice if someone is in your network or not before they give you services, before you have to agree to pay for them. That bill failed, I think, maybe it was 2 years ago now. So that's something that the legislature has specifically tried to address and has gotten shot down by the insurance industry.
Right,
So
but that's not to say that people can't be helped on an individual level.
Right. No, I agree. I just wanted to point that out that it's on the radar for sure.
Yeah.
So Linda, do we want to see if we can get somebody from the New York State program? And
Yes.
also, what if we asked somebody like Gary Coe, who's in charge of the California Medical Billing Advocates. There's a big piece about them on the Covered California webpage.
And I just on the New York program, there's an ABA journal article from last month. I just sent the link to you,
Oh,
Linda,
thank you.
on the New York program. The New York program is actually still in development. The court recommended that social workers be permitted to provide limited legal services, but that hasn't really been defined yet. And they're also proposed, but they did recommend that it include in-court representation by social workers. And then the panel also recommended expanding New York's court navigator program, which is non-lawyers providing a variety of services, but they're not considered engaging in the practice of law. So I imagine it's filling out forms, providing forms, filling them out.
I think the navigators do more. I think they're more of the third tier where they're able to answer questions from the court. That's in family. I think they were in family law and they were volunteers. That's what I remember reading about it. But I think they were in court answering questions tier. So,
But you
So-
can
So
send
it
out-
sounds like the social workers, that program isn't yet in place.
They
I wonder
haven't.
if there's, yeah.
So the chief judge has tasked a judge who served on that working group to oversee implementation of the proposal. So they're just getting started on doing the kind of work we're doing right now, which is defining the tasks that will be permissive.
Right. So I wonder if we can go back to some of the people that we talked to before to try to build out what the tasks are. And maybe we can do that. That staff can do that. So I'm sort of echoing what Leah said at the meeting that just ended, that staff can do that and then bring the tasks back to the working group.
yeah, I think the folks from the county, because we're going to be, the idea is to be in Santa Clara County. So there's some Bay Area counties that might have people who could address kind of what the things that, was it Ms. Connor or Ms. Timberlake?
So Leslie Connor runs a federally qualified health clinic, the largest one here in Santa Cruz County. Full disclosure, she's my sister-in-law. I'm not sure she's the best person to help with tasks. She was the one that was advocating for the medical legal partnerships and saying that she would absolutely hire a paraprofessional to come into the clinic and help with these very types of things. Ellen Timberlake is the former head of the Human Services Department. I could certainly get somebody from the Health Services Agency. I also have a lot of contacts in Santa Clara County Council's office, though. Somebody who's been practicing representing their health department, maybe that, and they might bring over somebody like an eligibility worker 3 who knows exactly what these tasks are.
Okay. So we can work on that. So it seems like these first 3 are ones that I think would be really helpful. This denial of access to insurance, I think that's just someone applying and being denied insurance. I think that was my understanding. And I think maybe, if we can get someone that can help with navigating that. But this failure to inform of free services or available financial assistance, I'm not sure exactly what kind of assistance because that's something that I guess maybe the person wasn't told that free services were available. So I'm wondering if that ties back to the billing issues.
So California has a much stricter law about this than the federal law. And it says that all hospitals in California have to provide some form of charity care.
Mm-hmm.
And their income thresholds. And they get in trouble when they don't inform. Somebody gets a bill who clearly qualifies and they were never informed of the charity care program.
Right.
So I cannot find, I dug around a bit today, I cannot find that from this stems a private right of action. You would, I think that the way a paraprofessional or an attorney would help is by going back to them and saying, you have to write this bill down to the appropriate level based on their income. And the hospitals have a lot of discretion in this regard. So I don't, it would be great to talk to somebody, but I think it really is just about negotiating that bill down, which seems like an appropriate task to me.
And that's separate and distinct from this billing for medical services. I see, because it's really in a different area,
It can be, the billing could be your bill got miscoded.
right?
And right, I read an example on Covered California today that somebody was billed $250,000 for a bone marrow transplant they did not receive. And it was simply a coding error. Whereas this other issue is, I qualified for your charity care program and you never told me about it or offered it to me.
Yeah, even if you know that statute, that might be good to, again, to get on Greg's list or the list of things that wouldn't need to be modified. It's just more, like you said, enforced. Some of these great, well-meaning bills don't have any mechanism to enforce them.
Right.
And this is a really an area where that's no teeth to some of these things.
And just to be clear, the list of statutes that I was looking for are any statutory provisions that might prevent a paraprofessional from providing the service, the legal service to a client as opposed to an attorney. So.
Mm-hmm.
So are there other, so it sounds like, Dana, you might be able to tap into some of the subject matter experts that we need to help build this out. Can reach out to Gary Coe. I can do that if you want to reach out to some of the people in Santa Cruz and Santa Clara County.
I will do that. Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything, and it sounds like there's not necessarily separate subject matter experts for these areas, or?
I wouldn't think so. I would think that people that are experts in this field would be familiar with all of these things. They're closely related to one another.
Okay. So maybe you and I can work on this and try to build out the test and then bring it back to the group at the next meeting. And hopefully, if we think it's appropriate, we can bring some of those people with us to be able to answer questions of the subcommittee. Does that sound good? Okay.
So this is technical stuff, but I think it's really high on the two justice gap studies, and the more detail we can pull out of those, I would think the better, because this is one of those. I think this was this the number 1 or the number 2 issue, Linda, on one of them was health.
I don't remember, but what additional detail were you hoping to get?
Well, because in again, every state is different, and there are like Dana said, that the statutes about failure to inform, denial of access to insurance. We have Covered California, so theoretically, we have more people covered in California than than Massachusetts and pretty much every
These
state.
came from the California Justice Gap Study, though.
Okay.
This is not from that. When we brought these issues to the subcommittee, we pulled from the California study. We weren't pulling from the national study.
Okay. Yeah.
So these were issues.
No, these are big issues.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to offer or share or ask? Okay. All right. Well, so I think we know what we're doing, but to come back for the next meeting. Okay.
Thanks, Linda. So
Great.
we'll talk about some possible names.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye. Bye.